CleanSpark had a monumental day yesterday after the FOMC meeting. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and let's get into what happened yesterday and what's going on today and what to expect going forward. So, yesterday, CleanSpark was up 22.8% after the FOMC meeting where they held rates constant. And when asked directly about the strength of the labor market and whether or not it would deter the Fed from cutting rates going forward, Jerome Powell flat out said no, sending the market into a frenzy. That was pretty exciting, especially considering that that super strong labor market was one of the biggest concerns for the market in terms of whether or not we would get a rate cut. And the Fed has clarified that that strong jobs market is not going to prevent them from cutting rates this year. That's pretty great. He also mentioned that the last 2 months of inflation data will also not deter them from cutting rates going forward this year. So we are expecting to see some rate cuts this year for sure, and that sent the market into an absolute frenzy. So today we're cooling off a little bit on CleanSpark. We're down 2% today after that that monumental run. We got this huge green candle here. Honestly, it's almost as big as this one that took us to the peak in back in February. Um, I'm not surprised that there's a little bit of profit taking here today to even this out, cool us off a bit. We didn't even get overbought in the RSI on the daily here. We're actually still at 61. So we still have plenty of room to run. If you look back here when we were running up, it went up as high as 91. So that's pretty great, all of that right now. It looks like 15 might be the bottom here. We had these nice big wicks on the bottom of the candles every time we came down to 15. We are above all the SMAs right now. There is a Bollinger Band Keltner channel squeeze going on, but that's nothing to be too concerned about. That could actually send us higher potentially since we came down in a big way on that, or send us flat for a moment. We'll see. Anyways, let's turn on my drawings. So 15, we bounced off it when we bounced off it hard. So I'm feeling very confident about that. If we get a weekly close above $18, I'm going to be feeling very bullish going into next week and the next few weeks and months. So that's pretty exciting with that, especially with not having a overbought RSI. That's pretty exciting. I like that a lot, actually. We are seeing volume is kind of coming back up to that average level yesterday. Today, it's very, very low, which is to be expected after FOMC. FOMC is a huge, huge, huge day. The only concerning thing I see on this chart right now is that we are making lower highs. Yeah, about that, like that. We're on a trend line, a descending trend line right there. We do need to get above 2130 to get a real nice bullish move out of this. That would make this look like something of a double bottom, but at the top of the range, which is a bit crazy. But we got to get above this big red candle here, which is 2130. So we have to conquer that while also not going below $18. Now that could happen today or tomorrow. Absolutely. And if it does happen, we'll come back and test 15 again. I don't necessarily see that happening. The market is quite excited. We're on a heater right now. We've been given the permission from the parents of the market to go higher, so we're probably going to go higher from here. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't have pullbacks. That doesn't mean that we can't come back and test this $18 range in the next day or two, but it does mean that we have been given permission to go higher by the Fed. So that's extremely exciting. This was such a good day. My account was beautiful yesterday. Not as beautiful today. As you can see, we're down a little bit, but we are going up from here. So that's also not so bad. So that is the CleanSpark chart. Let's take a look at how the weekly candle is forming here. Oh yes, we're getting a nice big bodied candle here to somewhat combat last week's big red candle. And I like these wicks on the bottom here that we've been having for about 5 weeks there. That's a very bullish sign. Each wick getting kind of close to the 15 SMA for the weekly, but not touching it. I wouldn't be super, super surprised if we stayed sideways long enough just to kind of touch this thing at some point if it comes up. We'll see. But as long as we're over $18, I'm pretty bullish that we're not going to come back to 15. And then if we were to test 15, that would concern me a little bit since we've tested it so many times that I'd be concerned of it breaking if we were to test it. But currently we're over that $18 mark. We're holding over that $18 mark. If we can do that through the end of the week, I'll be feeling very, very bullish going into April, or the end of March and into April. Let's take a look at Mara. Mara is having a bit of a comeback story. It did exactly what I said it would do. It came down to $20. Well, it actually came down to 17, but it came down to this most traded zone here, which I've had on this chart for a really long time. Here, right at $20 or 19.80. It came just below it and then hung out there for 3 days, never really got broke away from the line. You see, there was never a clean breakout. We had one day, but we came back and wicked up. Then we came back and wicked up to that line 2 days in a row. And then on that fourth day down here, we did have a solid break away from it, but it was a green candle. And then the very next day was FOMC and sent us clear above that line all the way up to this other line that I had on my chart here for a while, which marked the double top um, marker from the previous move, and we came right up to it and stopped. So this is going to be resistance right now. So we've got to get over that 2263. 2263? We have to get over 2270. 2270 we have to get over in order to get out of this downtrend right now. That's a necessity. We are out of this less aggressive descending channel that I have had drawn here. We have cleanly broken away from that. If we can close out the week without coming back to touch the top end of this, then we're solidly out of it. We might come back to test the bottom of this ascending channel over here around like $20, $21 again in the next week or so, but I don't know if we'll come back to 20 all the way down, like, well, 19-ish again. But I like how that played out quite perfectly. It went up from the double bottom. Once that double bottom was basically confirmed, I said we're coming all the way down to that 19. And that's exactly what we did, and we bounced from there. So that's pretty exciting. I like that. I like these big moves up to get us super bullish. I want to see a gap up in the next couple of trading sessions to really send us flying high. One thing I do like more on the Mara chart than on the CleanSpark chart is that since that run up in February, we have been seeing a higher high pattern here, and we are making a lower high there, even on the daily there. So if this momentum can take us up and make a higher high above $34, that would be crazy, crazy bullish. So let's see if that can happen. I don't know if it will soon. I mean, that's something that probably would take a couple of weeks or more. I don't think we'd see this till like the end of April at the earliest, trying to test these areas. But whereas CleanSpark in that same amount of time, we've been making lower highs on the daily. On Mara, we made those two higher highs. I mean, this was an excessively aggressive sell-off that we did not get in CleanSpark, but we have that higher high, higher low pattern kind of coming in on the longer time frames there. We do have that in CleanSpark as well, but it's more like a shelf here with higher. We're making more like a wedge, like a really big wedge right here where we're coming down, and then we're staying flat here at the bottom. And wedges, we'll see. I think it's going to take us higher when it does break. I don't think it'll break to the downside, especially not after yesterday's meeting, but it is a concern. Mara, so what are we looking at here? Mara, we've got to get it over 2270. If we get over 2270, our next zone of resistance is at 2642, and our support again is $20. So, a lot more upside than downside right now, I'd say. Bit Digital came off of the bottom of the megaphone. We are out of this descending channel. We are above the 15 SMA. We are trying to connect with the 50 SMA right here in orange. We are up again today, 2.5% now after yesterday's big run up of 18% on Bit Digital. I think this one's going to start waking up here. We do need to come up to $3 and conquer $3 with Bit Digital to get super extra bullish on this thing. But as long as we hold up here where we currently are in the 250 area, I do think that is very much a possibility, and we could see this turn into a bull flag taking us up there right now. Again, the downside risk is all the way down to $2 right now. If $2 breaks, we're looking at like 190 and all the way down to 150. I don't see that after yesterday's meeting. Resistance above, we'll have a bit of a fight here at 273 and then again at $3. Let's bring up the volume profile. Actually, let's take a look at that real quick. Volume profile. Yeah, we're chewing through this volume. If we get above 270, all the way to $3 and above after we get there, that'd be great. Let's see what about CleanSpark's daily volume. Nothing above us, nothing but open sky. Mara, So Mara, yeah, we're hitting that resistance at 270. There's a little bit at 23.77, and we have to. It's going to be a bit of a grind up to that $27. But once we're above that, it's kind of clear skies up to 34. Okay, let's take a look at Riot. What happened with Riot? Riot's getting pretty exciting. So Riot is yesterday was up 11.8%, a little less than their peers. They are in this empty pocket of volume. Let me turn off these drawings. They are in this empty pocket of volume. If we can get above the 200-day SMA at 1280 on Riot, we are very quickly going to go up to $15 on Riot. So that's something really to keep in mind on Riot. They are bouncing off the lows here, which was the golden zone here of the volume profile at $11. Did I have a drawing at $11? I did. It came down to my little box here, stopped right at the bottom of my box, and took off from there. We are outside of that box that I drew. If we can hold up and above this box, which the top of is $12, if we can hold above $12, we will likely come up and test the 200 at 1281. If we conquer 1281, $15, here we come on Riot. For the downside risk, we're looking at coming back to testing $11 really, and that's about it. So upside risk, upside potential $15, downside risk is about $11 from our current position at 1230 on Riot. And that's the miners for today. We've had a crazy exciting day. The bull run seems to be getting kicked off here. Confirmation from the Fed came in yesterday. Everything is looking quite good, actually. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's actually down today. Bitcoin's down 1.74% right now. This is the daily chart. We've got the pi cycle top indicator on here. So we did come out and above the top of it for a minute, and then we started cooling off and coming back down here. And we're sort of looking like we're trying to make a bowl right here. So we're trying to form a bowl. If we can come back up to $73,000 and then get maybe a sell-off from there to about 69, 68,000, and then go up from there, that would be a very nice cup and handle. I've kind of visualize that here. So if we were to we came from 73, we're all the way down at 66 right now. And then if we came all the way back up to 73, and then we did a retrace down to about 69, 68, which would be the previous all-time high, that would be able to launch us up to about 80-ish from there if that were to happen. And we'd get to that 80,000 level pretty fast if we did a move like that. So that's something I'm watching out for. Again, that is predictive, so that doesn't, that's take that with a grain of salt. This RSI divergence that we saw before, let me bring it down here. That started back here on February 28th, came to a head here on March 13th. That is fully played out. We came to the bottom of the RSI on the daily there, down to 30. So that is played out. It's done. We came down to my line here at 60,000. That was nice. Tapped it, and then shot right back up when JPow came out and gave his speech. Let's look at the 2 hour to see how this lined up with my channels here. So this downward channel, it actually did a good job of that. Broke it, fully broke it, came back, tested it perfectly. Wow. Okay, so came to the absolute bottom of this, which I placed this at the bottom of this wick here, so that's not surprising. But then this came up. The body closed at the very top of this ascending channel, and the wick touched the very bottom of the descending channel that I had before. And then we came down, cut all the way through my my ascending channel here, hung out for a bit, only broke it for 1 2 hour period, and then came back to touch it again, and then rode the bottom of it before we went right up to above the top of it. And then now we're hanging out right on the top line of that ascending channel right now. So that actually turned out to not be such a bad little channel there. And we are making a bull flag right here. So when Bitcoin gets back above $67,670, we'll be looking at it wanting to come back up to that $69,000 to $70,000 range. And like I said, what I'm looking for here, especially since we broke out above this descending line here and we're hanging out above it, if we can get back up to $73,000, I want to see that move up to $73,000. Then I want to see a quick back test to about 68, 69,000, which was the previous all-time high from last cycle. I want to see that. And from there, I want to see that as a launching pad up to $80,000. That's what I'm looking for. So I actually don't need this on my chart anymore. That's what Bitcoin's looking like. Bitcoin's looking bullish. The miners are looking bullish. That's fantastic. There's one last thing I would like to talk about today, and that is Solana. If you are in Solana, put a 100 in the comments. Let us know who you are if you are trading Solana. I do trade Solana. I do like Solana. I've been honestly purchasing Solana since the FTX crash where it went down to $8. I bought it all the way up to $30. So that's my average cost basis right now since I sold a good amount when it came up to like 40, $50 from there. I am sitting on a position around 40-ish Solana. We did have a nice little sell-off down to the 15 SMA. We just kissed the 15 SMA and then launched off from there. We are getting a tiny bit of a sell-off today from that to cool off since um, RSI is a little bit high, but not too bad. If you look at the RSI, we got a perfect 50 retracement on the RSI. So we went from 94.95 on the RSI, and then in 2 days did a perfect retracement to the 50 RSI before getting a bounce. That's why I like watching this 50 level. If we're on a super bullish territory like we are with Solana, if it comes back to 50 or just slightly below 50 on the RSI on the daily chart, I would be looking for a bounce, and that's exactly what we got. And now I'm thinking that we're probably going to continue on up from here. We might see a little bit of testing back and forth of some of the SMAs, but I'm looking for 210 to be conquered by Solana very, very soon. On the downside risk, I'm looking at about 177. Let me bring out the volume profile, actually. The volume profile, let me get that out here. Yeah, looking about 178, then a little bit of resistance at 166, below that 150. If we get under 150, we'll go to 132, and below that 108. I don't necessarily see that happening this bull run. There's a lot of momentum taking us up. If you see here, I have the marker here of 260 of the previous all-time high. That's what we're eyeing. That's what we're looking for. We are in a current little speed bump of volume that is trying to support us here in the 80s. That gives up at 80 to 84, 75, and then catches us again at 78. So there's a good amount of, on the upside, I'm looking for being slung up into all-time highs. On the downside, I'm looking at maybe adding to this position in the mid 170s and potentially high 160s for Solana. And my overall target is, if we go to the Solana upside model here, let me get that on here. I know I've shown this before. We'll show it again. The upside model, what we're looking for when it loads is to try to get to this purple line. This purple line is the one we're looking for, which is currently at 314. That's the ultimate goal, is to get to and maybe slightly above this purple line, which would represent 33% of the market cap of Ethereum for Solana. So far, this has been one of the best trades for me this year. It's been performing just so exceptionally well, especially after all that crazy fear after FTX. It did super, super well. I do still see a bright future for it. And of course, this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. This is simply my portfolio, what I am seeing when I look at these charts and how I interpret them. So please do your own research before investing in any assets. And with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.